Hello, everyone. Time for another morning musing. Um, Today, I'm thinking about a couple things, but they're mostly related. Um, I've been thinking about my dad a bit lately and about things he would say. A lot of people have fathers that they're like, oh, my father shared this wisdom or whatever, right? And my dad's, I guess, wisdoms, they were interesting. I think he taught things in kind of a weird way. It's not the way I would teach things. But one thing I remember often is that he would say, you want what you get and you'll get what you want. And like, as a kid, I'm like, that is so dumb. Yes, if I want what I get, I'll get what I want because now I wanted this thing instead of the thing that I actually wanted or whatever. But as an adult, as I gained more experience, I realized, oh, what I want, if I want what I'm getting, like that's basically the things that you focus on are the things that you want, and that's what you're gonna get. And there's a lot of people that say things that like that, but it's the concept that what you focus on is what shapes your life. It's not circumstances, not anything like that. It's what you focus on. And so if you're focused on a lot of negative things and negativity, that's where all your energy's going. And it's also what you are training yourself to observe. And so that's what you're going to be getting everywhere. You could have two of the same person, one who's focused on the negative, one who's focused on the positive, and they can live all the same circumstances, and who is going to be the happier, more successful person. um, and that got me thinking on things like relationships I've had with people and whatnot. And it's kind of tricky when there's like a difference in that focus. Like, I'm pretty naturally a optimistic person, fairly positive person. And when I've been with people who are not so optimistic and kind of negative, um, it's hard on them, especially. And I don't particularly understand them, but I'm more of the standpoint like people can do what they want. so so it's probably maybe a little less hard on me, partially because I'm like, oh, it's all gonna work out and it'll be fine. Um, but the funny thing is, I've run into a lot of people who I view as negative or pessimistic, and they're like, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. And I think I've heard positive people say that too, and I think that I'm like, no, I'm a realist. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that everyone is a realist, right? Like, if they're focused on the negative and how nothing's gonna work out, when they're approached with a challenge, it's like a huge issue. And um it's like someone's betrayed them, or someone should have done something differently and this is screwing them over or whatever. Like, that is their reality. They are a realist. But if you're someone who comes into a situation like something went wrong and you're like, wow, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I prevent this from happening in the future? What responsibility do I need to take in this outcome, and how do I need to change? Those people, those positive people, optimistic people, are also realists, because that view is what defines your reality, right? So it's kind of funny to think about that term now, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. Well, you are a realist, but that's not my reality. I'm also a realist. And that kind of lead, led my thoughts to things like what so what we focus on is like what shapes our life. And that, if that's true, and I believe it is, what happens when we focus on things we can't change, right? Like, so basically, let's say something happens, even if you are an optimist, or should I say a realist with a more positive outlook. um, if you're in a situation, or even let's just say politics, lots of people get sucked up in politics. It upsets a lot of people, but the fact is, most of us, there's not a lot we can affect, right? Like, things that we're getting upset about are not things that we can change. Not directly, not through worrying about it, and most action is not going to make a difference. But someone can wrap up a lot of emotion in that. And if people have like a set amount of energy and you're spending all that energy getting wrapped up in something that you cannot affect, that's a horrible use of energy. You're not going to be able to shape your future or your life. I mean, you are shaping your life in a, like, I guess, negative way if you're doing that. But if you come into a situation and you're like, oh, this is something I don't like, what is something I can change? Or what is something I can affect? Kind of the extreme responsibility viewpoint on something. Like, if it's not something I can do, why should I spend my energy on it? I should be spending my energy on the things that I have control over and can affect my life. So, even in like family situations, I have 5 kids, and driving around, they'll often get into weird, petty fights. Like, one kid's tapping on the door, the other kid doesn't like it, and they're just like mad at each other because one's not willing to stop tapping and one's not willing to, you know, figure out how to deal with their annoyance. um, but it's like, we can't control other people. So why should we wrap up a lot of energy into trying to exert control on other people? We shouldn't. What's the like growth mindset, extreme responsibility way to handle this? You can ask them to stop because it's annoying, and if they don't stop, you can find something else to do. You can, I mean, driving in a car, you can't like remove yourself from the situation very well, but you can find a way to not be annoyed with it, or recognize, hey, um, we're only 5 minutes from our destination. Can I deal with this for 5 minutes and focus my energy somewhere else rather than trying to control someone? And I think that applies in so many situations. I've spent a lot of time in my life trying to control people. I know that sounds weird, but like, it's true. Whether you're like, you don't have to be like a manipulative person to be like, oh, trying to exert control over your situation. But the fact is, the only person you have control over is yourself. So why not learn how to control yourself? Instead of trying to change others, change yourself. And what does that do? Well, that helps you grow and learn, and that's all a good thing, and it's something you have control over. Anyway, interesting thoughts today. Want what you get, and you'll get what you want. I think my dad would add on to that sometimes too. Want what you get, you'll get what you want. And you can use that to build what you desire. And I think that's true. Take a goal-based focus on that, and that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that's my music for today. Thanks for watching.